Howdy, folks. Welcome to part 5 of 6 of country music as told really through the eyes of the photographers who took all the pictures through time, whether it was of the artist or performances or the Opry or wherever it may have been. And of course, we're hearing from artists and they're singing and all that, but we're learning about what the photographers saw because they were kind of like flies on the wall, if you will, but they saw a bunch. So this is courtesy of Renee Mooberry, who made a gift to the channel for me to do this hour-and-a-half long special, and I broke it down into 6 parts. So thank you again, Renee. LSU girl, certainly a Louisiana girl. I know that because she was born and raised and lived for X number of decades in Louisiana. So here we go, part 5, an American country music documentary.
My favorite way of photographing is to fly on the wall to try to get candid shots and see what was really happening. J.D. Souther was a terrific songwriter, and his girlfriend at the time was Linda Ronstadt. I photographed Linda very early on. She did a concert in L.A. singing in harmony with Emmylou Harris. I photographed Emmylou at the Troubadour and hanging out in the San Fernando Valley. Glenn Campbell had his own television show, The Glenn Campbell Show. And I was on the other side of the dressing room, sneaking little candid shots. I don't feel like I make photographs. I'm just lucky enough to be the guy there to push the button to grab that moment. Chris Christopherson was recording an album in Colorado, and I'm looking for that moment when they really shine, and then catch it as it happens. Even the stuff you do on stage, that's all lit and very exciting. But I'm looking for the person to look the way I think they look the best. And I get to pick the moments. In the 80s, I ended up doing a lot of work with Capitol Records, and they had a new artist named Garth Brooks.
I'm an average Joe from Oklahoma, and I just wanted to be George Strait. That's all I wanted to do. Pictures capture some of the biggest highlights of my life.
When I work with Garth, I can go anywhere, and that's fantastic, because you get all these great vantage points, like standing out on the edge of the stage from behind.
When a photographer captures you and all you see are people and the New York skyline, that picture is the truth. You can feel everything that people were there felt.
A lot of country artists have a microphone and they stand there, they play the guitar, and they don't move around a lot. Garth Brooks never stands in one place. He'd be standing right here, I put a wide angle and look up, oh, he's over there now. Now I gotta switch to a telephoto. By the time I get that out, he's back on that side. He did crazy things like smash guitars, get bottles of water and shake them all over. Then the good stuff happens. He'd climb the rigging and swing on a rope.
I didn't know this about Garth.
The arms were out, legs were moving. If there was a cowboy hat in the shot, even if it was blurred, that meant movement. That action symbolized what we stood for.
A decade before, cowboy hats had been out of fashion. The only guys in cowboy hats were Hank Williams Jr., Charlie Daniels, guys who weren't really mainstream country. When George Strait came along in the early 80s, he was wearing a cowboy hat, and by the late 80s, it became iconic again.
It became the hat era, and all the guys were wearing hats. Dwight Yoakam, Clint Black, Alan Jackson. Somebody in the music business said, when you get a record deal, you need to wear that hat. There is no girl doing that. Be the first one. And when I first got signed, I wore the hat in, and my manager said, they're not really sure. Well, I think I should wear it. I think they're crazy if they make me wear spike heels. I would have looked like I was in drag walking in that. It would have been ridiculous. And it's become a big part of my image. If there was anybody that didn't know my name and somebody said the girl in the hat, oh, I know who that is.
I don't think the image of me could have ever matched my voice. I've been in this business for 20 years, and when you start as a child, your image evolves so much. In the 90s, I dressed like a teenager. I had really big hair and big bangs. By the time I was 18, I started to be a little more fashionable because country music was going a little more pop, and the image changed with that. People like Reba took country music to a different kind of sophistication.
First nominee is Reba McEntire.
I think the red dress.
I designed that dress, and the lighting enhanced the cleavage. People gasped, and I didn't know if I was going to have a job the next day. Reba received more press from the red dress than if she would have won an award.
Reba McEntire was famous for having 15 costume changes in a single show, with some of the changes happening on stage while she's surrounded by dancers. And as it becomes apparent by the early 90s what a big business country music is, women are becoming more visible, and Reba began the transformation that you see later with Shania Twain or Faith Hill, where they are taking on the style of rock and pop stars.
Country singers were now wearing higher fashion. They were more trendy and started gaining attention from designers who would then loan them clothes. And the image of the artist became more important than it had been.
If I feel like wearing something, I wear it. If I feel like looking a certain way, I just do it. And I don't follow rules very well at all. And that's gotten me in trouble many times in my life, because I have always been the one who wore the too short dress or showed too much cleavage. So the record labels give me the real short haircut to try and make me sultry. And then I would get too sultry and they'd have to pull the reins back.
Get away with it.
Everybody has their own image. And that's the beauty of coming from a rural area, like so many of us did. Country boys and girls can kind of make it up as you go. We're self-made characters.
Grandpa Jones wouldn't have been Grandpa Jones without his hat, or string bean without the pants down to here, without his long shirt. That was part of their image.
These artists were very aware that the way they looked was part of the show, and that was included in the price of the ticket. And they worked hand in hand with people like Nudie and later on Manuel to craft their image.
People want to see a show, but if you don't see something that you have not seen before, why spend the $20 or the $1,000?
I must pause so Renee can catch her breath. We had a Dwight sighting. You see, Renee's screen name is Renegade for Dwight. And she's Dwight's worldwide #1 fan. So anytime there's a Dwight showing or sighting, I gotta acknowledge it. Sometimes I'll stop and acknowledge it, as I am now. But Manuel dressed up Dwight.
$1,000 for the front seat. I worked for Nudie for 14 years before I went on my own. I grew up with ranchera music in Mexico, so I was very familiar with the meaning of country music. And it was through country music I knew Nashville. I came here because Nashville was Music City, USA. I was trying to make one-of-a-kind clothes. That's my mission from day one. They are all originals. And nobody has escaped the rhinestones by Manuel, I don't think. To be a star is difficult. So I say, let me make you a suit that you love. It's made for you. So when they go on stage, they feel confident to be the stars that they really are.
It just makes you better because you feel better about how you look. You know, I've got a Manuel jacket on tonight and I'm gonna sing my ass off.
Oh, my baby.
Well, when you come in to get a fitting with Manuel, you can't be modest because he has to measure every part of you.
36 and a half.
He's the one that measures you, and he's the one that makes your image.
Look what I got for you.
Oh, my God. Manuel. Pink is my favorite color. I love everything about these boots. I can wear them with everything. Yeah. Or nothing at all.
Growing up, I always saw the women with the great big hair and the sparkly earrings and jewelry and evening gowns, and it definitely evolved over the years. But there was still that classic look.
The greatest women, their images convey who they are truly, and it's authentic. When I started out, people tried to look through me to see my dad. So it was important for me to craft my own self. But in the beginning, when I was first signed to a record label, there was this meeting about my image. And the head of marketing said, we just have to make her look fuckable. I was shocked. I mean, I shouldn't have been shocked, but I really was. You know, I was really confident about the music I wanted to make, and this is what it boiled down to. And I didn't play along. We're judged very quickly on.
All right, I'm pausing too because I said in a prior reaction, I don't remember what it was to, but it was in a documentary that Michelle Wright, the Canadian artist, has the most beautiful eyes, not just in music, but that I'd ever seen photographed, certainly. Beyond perfect doesn't even cover it. And I'm looking at Roseanne Cash here, and she's pretty darn close herself. All right, I may have to start an award, the Rockin' the Country Awards, and give out awards to these artists.
But I want the image on an album cover to say something about what's inside. That's always the goal. And it's a collaboration with the photographer.
Music is very subliminal, and photography is obviously visual. It's a way of exposing yourself. I've never done drugs. I don't drink. I don't smoke. I take pictures. When I was at the peak of my career, I took a picture and someone said, "Wow, that's a great picture." I thought, really? I don't even know what I'm doing. So I hired a professional photographer to teach me the tricks, and it was just fascinating. I love to shoot people, and obviously I love country artists. And photography gave me a chance to get to know some of these people that I'd never met before. You know, I shot people like Faith Hill, Brad Paisley, Martina McBride. And as a photographer, you really do get a chance to feel their soul, feel what they're all about, and it's magical.
Photography can say an enormous amount, but one of the least enjoyable things for me is doing a photo shoot. When I came to Nashville, I was already an established artist in Australia. I had my look and my sound, but I was completely out of sync with everything that was happening in Nashville. As an artist, you should never compromise, but I think you do have to adapt. And so I had to start
I would never
again.
know that's cute.
And in the midst of trying to fit in, I sort of lost myself. For my first solo record, I remember the label president saying, "It looks like the picture that comes with the frame." He was dead on too. But I had to keep believing. And all the covers I've been able to do have really captured, for better or worse, where I was at the time. And it was a slow process to get to where I am now.
With that.
Sometimes image can get in the way. Sometimes it's what made an artist work or what made them famous. I was hardcore traditional country, and nobody really said you need to have this image. But my label just thought we just gotta get this girl some clothes. So they took me shopping, and it does give a girl from East Texas a little bit more confidence. And the camera really reads that. Don't listen to a great photographer can position you a certain way or put you in a certain setting that works. Can't you hear it call his name? Country music can be wrapped in all kinds of packages, but it's gotta have that heart and soul. And when the music and the image complement one another, that's when you have something really special.
When you're photographing a musician, there's expectations that are not just the photographers, not just the subjects. There are expectations by the record company or the management. In the 90s, when I first started trying to get work in country music, there were art directors whose point of reference was not just celebrity portraits. They were interested in beautiful pictures that would be an appropriate parallel for the music. And that's what country is about, being connected to something genuine.
Story.
So I steered in the direction of making portraits of musicians. People like John Hyatt and the Carolina Chocolate Drops, taking that traditional music and making it their own. I know when I see beautiful light, and you can sit somebody down in that beautiful light and know that this is a gift.
Oh God, who was that?
But the portrait is more than just the fall of light on a subject. A portrait is also a conversation. And the real making of that picture has to do with the interaction I have with the person. I first shot Lyle Lovett in '92 for the record Joshua Judge of Truth.
It was a private conversation. No one heard her say.
I'd done a few projects for Warner Brothers, and they thought it would be a good fit.
2,000 miles away.
The role a photographer plays in establishing an image depends on the relationship. And what's key for me is the trust that we've developed over the last 22 years.
Lyle has strong ideas about this image because he has a strong idea of who he is as a person.
I went to Nashville because Nashville was the city of songs and a place where I could play my own songs.
And when it came time for me to start making records, I thought back to the classic photos. And there was a real dignity in the way people dressed. And that image of the country performer stays with you. So I decided to wear a suit. I didn't expect my hair to be anything of note, but it turned into something people remembered. Once something like that happens, you have to go
hair
with
is a
it
caricature
and
of
hopefully help
itself.
cement your identity in the mind of the public. What I'm imagining is just the venue in the background. It's a big deal to me that I've gotten to play here so many times over the years. To be able to make pictures here at Wolf Trap in Vienna, Virginia is fun.
It's kind of great, actually, with the snow falling. I'm thinking something dead center.
Lyle and I, when we work, it's kind of an improvisation.
It's lovely.
It's a tremendously creative environment. I feel completely comfortable working with Michael, and I can be completely myself.
There's something about that tree that's bugging me. If we got between these two trees, I think I'd be happier.
Okay. I arrive at a place and am just at the mercy of the environment.
That's good, Lyle.
I'm looking for those surprises.
And when he sends the contact sheets, there are always images that I didn't realize he had taken and that I didn't expect.
A still photograph allows you into this space that doesn't really exist in time. Then it becomes a trigger for the music.
As I lay sick and broken, Viva Mexico.
When you hear country music, you imagine the singer to be a character in those songs. And to see pictures just serves to reinforce that identity. But a successful picture of me is a picture that makes me look better than I look. That's what I'm looking for.
All right, that's going to be it for episode 5 or part 5 of, well, you saw, if this is the first episode you've seen, it's being told through the photographers. And what a fascinating angle to do, well, it's Netflix, but a special on a documentary, Netflix documentary on. So, Renee, you got a sighting or two, and you got your Manuel in there and all of that. So, well, you're complete. Life is complete now, just about. Except Dwight's got to somehow acknowledge you personally. So we'll see if it's through the channel, an email, an invitation, a limousine ride. I don't know. Anyhow, there you go, guys. I will absolutely see you on the next one. I think this was my favorite one. I think this was my favorite of the 5 episodes so far. It just, maybe it was the beautiful women and the way they were talking and the hats and all this stuff. But yeah, Roseanne Cash, Lori Morgan. I mean, you kidding me? All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed that. Have a great day. See you on the next episode and keep rocking the country.
And when I first got signed, I wore the hat in, and my manager said they're not really sure. Well, I think I should wear it. I think they're crazy if they make me wear spike heels. I would have looked like I was in drag walking in that. It would have been ridiculous. And it's become a big part of my image. If there was anybody